everybody. So this week we're going to be focused on taking those outlines that you created before spring break and then developing those into your rough drafts. So taking the topic sentences and the evidence that you chose and now actually mealing out all of your paragraphs that you planned before within there. So on Canvas, I'm going to have an example full essay for you. So you have the example outlines in the previous week's module that you can still be looking back to. But I wanted to also give you another example of an argument paper, how they've mealed out their paragraphs and how they've focused in that analysis towards their audience and towards their purpose within there. But along with actually typing the essay, we have to create our titles. So I haven't done this with our previous papers because I wanted us to really just focus on the content, but we do have to think about our titles. So our title is like that very first hook before we actually read the hook. So for a reader to decide if they're going to actually read your paper or be interested in it, or even decide if it pertains to them, they look at your title first. So we're, instead of judging a book by its cover, we're judging a book by its title. And the titles are really crucial to setting the tone for the entire paper. So I'm going to go through a lot of different criteria on here about what a title needs, and then we're going to brainstorm your titles together at the end. So the first criteria that an excellent title needs is it has to predict content, which simply just means it tells the reader what's going to be in the paper or what's going to be in whatever you were titling, the speech, the video, whatever it is. So in this one, it starts out Nurses on the Move, a quantitative report on how meditation can improve nurse performance. So the content I'm predicting, I know it's about nurses. So if I was in the healthcare field and I needed a paper on nurses, I know I can look at this one. And it's also, I know it's going to be about meditation and how meditation can help nurses. So going in here with quantitative, I know it's going to be numbers and research. So just with those simple words, I know nurses, meditation, and research that has numbers. So I predicted the content. I know exactly what I'm getting into, what I'm reading. So first criteria on your notes for an excellent title is predicting content. So the second element of an excellent title is that it has to be interesting. Okay, so even though, yes, I need to tell you what it's about, but I have to grab your attention and make you want to read it. So a murderous moral tale, poisonous murder trials, the Jerry Springer of the Victorian era. So this is actually a paper that I wrote for one of my master program classes. So murderous moral tale. So I'm repeating that consonant sound to grab interest too. And then I compare the poison murder trials of the Victorian era to Jerry Springer. So I was trying to gain interest with people so they could actually visualize the topic of my paper with these murder trials and picture Jerry Springer, but people dressed up like Victorian era style women and men within there. So I used a comparison and I used alliteration to gain attention and to make it interesting, but people still know my content. They know I'm going to go into the historical time period, the Victorian period, talk about the murder trials during that time, and the morality behind it within it. Okay, so writing in your second key element is it has to be interesting. Your third key element has to reflect your tone. So this means your attitude or the type of paper. So it should be clear from your title, are you going to be writing a description? Are you going to be writing an argument? Is this a compare contrast? Are you writing a critique or an evaluation? I should be able to tell, or at least get a hint of the tone or the type of paper that you're writing from the title. So if I start out more than the pom-poms and skirts, cheerleading competing for a top spot in high school sports. So I can tell more than this, the pom-poms and skirts, I can see that I'm starting to develop an argument that cheerleading should count as a high school sport. Cheerleading should be seen as just as athletic as other things. And I can tell that from the tone of my title that it's going to be an argument paper. If I just wanted it to be about the history of cheerleading, then I would talk about, instead, more than pom-poms and skirts, cheerleading activities throughout history or something like that. Then I know it'd be more informative than argumentative. So this paper you're writing now is argumentative, so the tone of your title should reflect that it is argumentative. So that fourth important element is it has to have your important keywords. So remember when you're doing your research and you're doing the Boolean searching in your databases or in Google Scholar or any of those places, you're typing in those main keywords that define the topic you're looking for and define the articles. So similar to predicting content, okay, nurses, quantitative meditation, your keywords, too far. There we go. Oh my gosh. Okay. Your keywords are those words that your motifs, those main ideas of your entire paper. So any paragraph that they're going to read, those keywords, those motifs are going to be popping up, and it's a key idea within there. So in this one, voting for group homes within city borders, benefiting both the mentally ill and society. So group homes is one of my keywords because I could talk about the needs of people that suffer from mental illnesses. I could talk about group homes in general with rehab facilities, but I've partnered group homes with mentally ill. So I have those very specific keywords that everything has to connect to and be about within there. Okay. So just to go back and refresh, your first keyword or key element that you have to have in a title is it predicts your content. It has to be interesting. It has to set the tone or the type that it is for an article or your essay. And it has to have those main keywords, those motifs, the main ideas that are prevalent throughout the entire paper. So all titles have to have those 4 elements. So now we're going to brainstorm your titles. So based on your outlines and your rhetorical situation brainstorms, you should be ready to go ahead and develop your title. If you want to wait till you're done with your rough draft and right before you submit it, I would sort of pause this video and then come back to it when you're ready to be done with the rough draft and add it in there. But this is the brainstorm I want you to do to make the titles for your paper. So on a sheet of notebook paper or a Google Doc, wherever you prefer to do your brainstorming, I want you to answer all 5 of these questions. Okay, so tell me what's the overall topic of your paper? What's the so what of your paper? And so remember, your so what is the why does it matter? Why is it important? Why should somebody care? So what? Okay. So tell me what is the so what of your paper? Why does it matter? Number 3, tell me who your audience is and why is that audience important to the topic. So why does your audience need to hear about the overall topic in the so what? Number 4 is your purpose of the paper. So what are you telling people to do? What are you arguing to happen? Okay, what is the purpose? And then number 5, is there anything special about your paper topic? Okay, or your tone. So writing down, is it argumentative? And it is argumentative for this one, but if it was a different paper, you'd put in what it was. Anything special about your paper? Like for my murderous moral trials, I wrote down there that since it was about a literary focus, I wanted alliteration within there. In my paper, I make a couple different references to reality TV shows and making that modern comparison. So I thought that was a special part of my paper, so I could bring it into my title within there. It's okay if you don't have anything for number 5 that you can think of special about your paper. This could be something that you come back to and think of later. It could be that little glitter you add to your title later. But you do have to add in your tone, which is argumentative. So I want you to pause the video and answer all 5 questions, okay? So once you've answered all 5, you unpause the video. Now your next step is to look at your answers and to list or highlight the important or key words from your answers. So looking at the answers to all these questions, I want you to highlight the key words or list them out on a sheet of paper. So remember, the word the is not a key word, but the word nurse would be a key word. The word and or how is not a key word, but the word meditation is a key word. So you're listing those main ideas, those motifs. So again, I want you to pause the video and list out or highlight all the key words from the answers you just wrote. Okay. So next step, once you've highlighted, I want you to create a sentence that introduces your paper topic from those keywords. So using those keywords, and you can add in other words now to make a full sentence, but you have to use the keywords you highlighted, make a sentence that introduces, highlights, or informs about your paper. Okay. So when you pause again and write that sentence. And once you've written that sentence, your next step is to delete anything that's repetitive. Okay, so remember, a title does not have to be a complete sentence, and it should not be a complete sentence. So I want you to delete anything that's unnecessary, it's repetitive, it doesn't matter, it's kind of this just there and blah, it makes you pause too much. So then I want you to condense it into title form. Looking back to some of the examples here. So notice in this one, more than the pom-poms and skirts, cheerleading competing for a top spot. I have 2 separate ideas in this title, and I separate with a colon. Do not use a period. Do not use a semicolon. You're going to use a colon in between. So this would either represent where you're starting a new sentence, and you typically would put a period, or if you would hit enter and start a new idea, the colon in there, and you would replace that with a colon instead. So you can have 2 ideas in your title. Don't go over 2 though. So notice almost all the titles I gave as examples, I think all of them do. I have 2 ideas that I've competed or sort of conglomerated into one within that title, and I separated them with the colon in there. So I'm also going to give a document attached to this video and these notes here that's just kind of a checklist to make sure you hit your key ideas. But really, all you're doing is going back through my 4 key elements and making sure they meet all 4 of those when you've created this title. Another really good way to test your title to see if it meets all 4 is have somebody look at your title that hasn't read your paper at all. They don't know what your paper's about. You haven't talked to them about it. So your parents, your friend, another teacher say, hey, look at this title. Tell me, do you think it's interesting? Does it predict my content? Does it predict my keywords? Can you tell what the tone of it is just from this title? So have somebody, a bystander, look at it from there. Okay. So take your time going through the modules for this week. You're focused on the rough draft. Make sure you're asking any questions you need me to look over. If you want me to look over sections of your paper, you have questions over it, just let me know. But have a wonderful day.